The Russian Olympic Committee is suspended with immediate effect. Individual clean Russian athletes will be able to participate under strict conditions at the Olympic Winter Games Pyeongchang 2018. These invited athletes will participate, be it in individual or team competitions, under the name Olympic Athlete from Russia, with the acronym OAR. They will compete with the uniform bearing this name and under the Olympic flag. The Olympic anthem will be played in any ceremony.
The IOC announcing that it is suspending Russia from the 2018 Winter Games in Pyeongchang, South Korea. That the ROC, the Russian Olympic Committee, is suspended effective immediately, that individual clean athletes will be allowed to participate, and individuals or teams, Olympic athletes from Russia, will be called an Olympic athlete from Russia, OAR, that they will fly under the Olympic flag. It will be the Olympic anthem that will be played in any ceremony. Also, the IOC announcing that a number of top Russian officials have been banned from any future Olympic Games. Arthi Pol has been watching this along with me and has more on all of this. So this goes pretty much as far as we've ever seen the Olympic Committee go when it comes to banning a country from participating as a country in the Games because of what they say is systematic manipulation of basically cheating, of doping.
Exactly. And, you know, it was specifically those strong words that were, in fact, used by the International Olympic Committee, by the IOC, when we watched that press conference. They said that we've never seen such manipulation and cheating. Those were their exact words. They said it has done unprecedented damage to the integrity of the sporting world and to the Olympics as well, which is why they are taking this strong action. As you mentioned, Andrew, we know that there will be clean athletes from the country who will be able to participate in specific sports, but not under Russia's flag, not wearing Russian uniforms. And if there are medals won, they will not hear the Russian anthem either, which is different from what we've seen at other Olympics when we know that this has been an ongoing investigation into the manipulation of doping testing with Russian athletes. So this is quite an outcome. And, you know, just sort of looking through what we're seeing also here on the Olympic website, part of what we're seeing too is that there will also be a $15 million fine, and that will be to the Russian Olympic Committee, and that is in order to pay for the costs of the investigation that were incurred by the International Olympic Committee in order to get to the bottom of all of this doping and cheating that has been going on. Now, I'm also looking at some of the specifications in terms of who may be allowed to compete for Russian athletes. It says here that there will be an invitation list that will be determined at an absolute discretion of a panel that will be formed, appointed by members of WADA, and also there's a doping sports union, or unit rather, that will be part of that, doping-free sport unit, and also the IOC. And that is how they will determine whether or not there's specific athletes who will be eligible to compete in these sports. Again, not under the Russian flag, but under the Olympic flag. Yeah, Plenty to digest here.
They're banning all delegates, they're banning all officials, they're banning any doctor that was involved, they're banning any athlete that's tested positive. And, you know, I mean, this is a pretty widespread ban at many, many levels, something that is unprecedented in this case. Arthi, thank you. So we're already hearing reaction from Russia to this decision, and the CBC's Chris Brown joins us from Moscow with more. So, Chris, what are you hearing?
Well, a couple of things are early on. The head of the Russian skating union is saying this is an insult. This decision's awful for the Olympics, and also some suggestion now that Russia's state broadcaster, the one with the rights to the South Korea games, will not broadcast those games. That's a report from Reuters. We've listened to it a couple of different, said a couple of different ways in Russian. Translation changes a little bit. They're suggesting they will not broadcast the games unless there are Russian athletes going. And as you heard Arthi say, there is a path for them to go. So will they broadcast the games with the athletes from Russia? There seems to be a little bit of wiggle room there yet, Andrew. I'm sure we're going to hear obviously a lot more reaction. People here were braced for bad news. There was a sense of doom all day, really, that something bad was going to happen. I think maybe the most surprising thing at this end, just the number of government officials that have been pointed out, the fact that some athletes might get to go, that perhaps was slightly more expected, but specifically mentioning Vitaly Mutko, I think, is also very important. He is the current deputy prime minister of Russia, appointed there by Vladimir Putin after all of this happened in Sochi. He was the sports minister in Sochi. He kind of lost his job for that, but in a way it looks like he kind of got a promotion. And not only that, crucially, he is the man in charge of organizing the next World Cup here, which starts in 6 months. So you have this crazy situation where the man who's supposed to be in charge of making sure that event goes perfectly has been banned from the Olympics for life because he, didn't do that job.
And it's interesting, Chris, because as we've been saying, this is further than the IOC has gone before in terms of punishing Russia, further than they went in the 2016 Summer Olympics.
It is for sure. They left that decision up to different federations of sport, and so there was a sizable Russian contingent in Rio. The Paralympians did not. No, there were no Russian Paralympians there. But as you say, it is a different outcome. My sense here is that people will feel very angry at this. Thomas Bach was already asked about a boycott because this was suggested that could happen if the punishment was too severe. Russia may just say, well, to heck with you, we're not going to go. So I thought it was interesting to hear Thomas Bach's answer to that, basically saying, well, look, we've given you lots. You're going to have lots of athletes there. If you fess up to what happened, at least acknowledge and follow through on the prohibitions we put on, your athletes still may be able to have some kind of a closing ceremony that might be, reflect Russia. So there is a path there to have some Russia in the Olympics, and so that seems to be Thomas Bach's escape hatch, if you will, for trying to avoid a Russian boycott.
All right, Chris, thank you. That is the CBC's Chris Brown live in Moscow.